So this first article is from Bounding Into Comics, and it says, Andrew Garfield weighs in on Hollywood casting practices, warns about the death of imagination. I like the visual imagery there, the death of imagination. It says, Spider-Man No Way Home and Hacksaw Ridge actor Andrew Garfield recently weighed in on Hollywood's current casting practices and the discussion surrounding whether or not certain actors can play certain characters. It's weird to me that this has to be a discussion at all. I know that we had one of the rare videos, like we have social media for this channel. It does that's fine, but we had a video, we had a segment cut out when we were talking about this on TikTok that apparently did better than a lot of our other stuff because I'm sure people were not happy with my opinion of just, of course, anybody can play any character. It's literally part of the job. So it says, speaking with The Telegraph about his latest film on Netflix, Tick, Tick, Boom, Garfield was asked about Hollywood casting practices and whether or not straight actors can play gay characters. Garfield responded, I think it's two different conversations getting conflated. He explained, one is about equality of opportunity, and I'm completely in on that because we should want a world in which no matter what your sexual orientation, your color, or your heritage, everyone gets a fair whack. And as we know in this circle, equality of opportunity has fallen by the wayside in popularity, especially amongst younger generations. It's a dying belief system in a lot of ways that we hear. We don't get political on this show, but in your general behavior and the values you kind of outwardly put to the world, it's something that we believe in heavily, in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome, because it's unrealistic. My favorite example being that you could be raised in a household with a sibling, have the exact same parents, and almost invariably you will end up in two very different places in life. Me and my brother were raised by two parents. We both went into the world with similar opportunities and came out very differently. He became a tradesman, never had any real issues in his life, whereas I went into action sports, did that, and had very severe struggles in my own life, all with what you would say is essentially the same parenting. Right. So if two parents can't provide somebody with equal opportunity or equal outcome, then the real world, thinking that you can do that in the real world is a fantasy. And what he's saying here is that's something that people should strive for, but now they're trying to conflate it where you can only play a certain character if you've had certain, I guess the phrase is lived experience.
That's right. Yes. And it's nonsense. I'm reminded of when Scarlett Johansson wouldn't play a trans man.
Well, she wanted to, and she took the role, and then she was just essentially bullied into removing herself from that role. And do we all know what happened to that movie?
It's trash, right?
Gone.
It's gone.
Because didn't come to fruition. And the sad fact is, I talk a lot about art, where art meets commerce, and these are industries where your name recognition matters. Right. That movie didn't get made because Scarlett Johansson was taken off the project. There wasn't at least at this time in current year, in the year 2022, there isn't a bankable enough trans actor or actress that can, or I guess they all prefer the term actor. They don't. Actress has kind of fallen by the wayside. Yeah. So there isn't a bankable enough trans actor that could take over that role, whose name would offer enough value to the project that they could count on it as a marketing tool.
I think you could make the argument that until there is such an actor, it doesn't make sense to shun people like Scarlett Johansson from playing it. Because you need eyes on your film to be like, all right, we want to accept this kind of actor.
Well, I do want to point out there is one actress that's kind of popular. She was in the TV show Orange is the New Black, and she was a trans woman.
Oh, yeah.
And her twin brother played as the male part, her transitioning into a female.
Interesting.
That's very interesting.
So do you know her name?
I have it right here. I can't pronounce it, but her last name is Cox.
Can you show it to me?
Yeah.
Is it Lou Bern?
Yeah.
Laverne. I know who that is. Yeah.
There's I can't think of the names of them, but there's a lot of like renowned drag performers that are well, that's I'm thinking more like in the acting space where a lot of TV shows will do like crime procedurals, where you get a window into certain professions for certain episodes. They will always do episodes, and most of those episodes try to do it with a good amount of dignity. Right. I find in current year.
I thought Orange is the New Black, they did it just as well because like it's talking about she's married to a woman who's heterosexual, and she's going through these like mental changes where she's like, I don't feel comfortable who I am. And then one day her wife like comes in and sees her wearing like her bra and a skirt and putting on makeup, and she has like this terrible haircut, and her wife comes up and just hugs her, and she's like, you're not upset by this? And she's like, no, I still love you no matter what, we're going to go through this. And basically why she went to jail is she basically robbed a place, right? I believe in the episode.
One thing that I found very well spoken about this article was the phrase empathetic imagination, because a lot of what they talk about is that unless you have lived what they've lived through, you can't accurately portray that that person with those immutable characteristics, whatever that. I guess those wouldn't be immutable because we're not talking about switching race or switching anything like that. And he goes, so it says, but the other is about empathetic imagination, and if we only allow people to be cast as exactly who they are, it'll be the death of it. He asserted. Yeah. It says Garfield then added, so the two separate conversations have to happen simultaneously, but I'm not willing to support the death of empathetic imagination. And then he's right about this, that a lot of these things become conflated. A lot of these discussion points, because they're all kind of lumped in under the same guise of the same kind of conversation points. Even I just brought up, immutable characteristics, which isn't really what this is about.
Right.
But they get conflated very easily. I almost just fell into that trap right there. And one of the other things is I was just trying to think of, like, I could think of endless examples of this, but I was just trolling through various things today and found this thing from, and this is why you have to be careful, why he has to be careful having this discussion. One, I did look into this. I was wondering if he, like Ian McKellen, was gay, and he is apparently not. So whether we want to admit it or not, in current year, having this discussion, without having one of those characteristics is dangerous for their career.
Although he did say that he was open to anything,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's
forward thinking.
Yeah, there's a post here when he talks about it. So apparently people had brought this up to him. It says. It says The Amazing Spider-Man. It says, as of 2015, there was rumors that they had broken up. They're talking about him and Emma Stone. It says, when asked about his sexuality, Garfield identified himself as heterosexual, but has stated that he has an openness to any impulses that may arise within me at any time. So he is very open to this stuff. He's not afraid to speak on it, and I applaud him for that. But when you're dealing with people who take this, who are very, very difficult to please, there's people, especially we're talking about a Marvel actor here. We're about to have Moon Knight drop in less than a month, and one of the core elements of that character is Jewish heritage. And I thought, they're very mad that Oscar Isaac himself is not Jew. People were mad for a while that Oscar Isaac was not Jewish. They did the same thing with not Wonder Woman, but. So what they were talking about here, it says, and this is what I'm talking about, the hyperbole of the people who care about these things when they're from the negative side. When they're talking about whether his character in Moon Knight would be Jewish, and they eventually confirm that he will be, they were worried that the character, that they might take it out of they were actually worried that they would make the character not Jewish because the actor wasn't Jewish. And then a person left a tweet to the director and says, this whole Moon Knight situation continued to prove to me that the MCU fandoms have never been safe for Jewish people or really any marginalized group. The hyperbole on that is what you're going to be up against when you're dealing with people that think of everything in the context of identity politics, of intersectionalism. You have to be very careful. So Garfield is, in a way, taking a risk here, because now they're going to literally ask. He's putting himself under the microscope now. Now they're going to be very concerned about what his sexuality is.
Right. Well, now they're going to care.
It shouldn't matter.
Of course,
it shouldn't matter. But they're going to make it matter, and that's the people you're dealing with when you pander to Twitter, which is what the MCU, Disney, all of these companies have chosen to do. We can't stop that. We can only comment on it. And I like to think of it as a form of, it's just looking at these things rationally and saying, when your job as an actor, it is your job to empathetically portray something that you have not lived. None of the people who play Navy SEALs have ever been Navy SEALs.
Right. I'm developing a theory that these people are projecting in that they don't understand what an empathetic imagination is. I'm curious if this is just because they don't have one, that they're struggling to see how someone else possibly could.
I believe that the actors do. The commentators, yes.
Right. The commentators don't have it. And I feel like it's because again, this is a first world problem. They don't have problems,
Right.
so they try to create their own.
It's boredom.
We need to bring back first world problems because it was a unifying theory
Yes.
where everybody was lumped into first world problems.
Absolutely.
You have it very good. You're complaining on your laptop with your with your ridiculously
Starbucks.
expensive
and your
cup
iPhone.
of coffee.
Give me a break.
But I also want to point out that I do believe that he means that because acting is one of those professions where you have to be very malleable and emotionally cognizant of what's going on around you because you have to constantly try to access emotions devoid of actual physical physical intervention, meaning that
Right.
you're accessing something that your body and your stimuli have not actually put into place.
Right.
Right. So you're constantly. It's like they joke about the ability to cry on cue. That could mean that you're a fantastic actor, or it could mean that there's something or no. Well, actually, I'd say that
Yeah.
they would have a harder time. But it's like, it means that you have to be very malleable to the whims of others. So if an actor has to let a director mold them into a performance, it's not hard to believe that they would find themselves just as malleable around the opinions of those they tend to value the opinions of.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is strategic to kind of go along to get along.
Yes.
There's no other way to do it in Hollywood.
Exactly.
That's fair.
They've turned it into that environment. We
Right.
talked a little bit about that yesterday about the Deadline article about
Right.
the writer who basically is accused of faking and being sick to get a role or to get a job writing for a show.
Right.
So it says, speaking with the BBC media editor Amal Rajan about the criticism surrounding Helen Mirren taking on the role of Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir. Is it Mir or Meir? In the biopic Golda, McKellen said there are two things in this argument: that a Gentile cannot play a Jew, and
Gentile.
that
It's
Gentile.
Yeah.
Is it Gentile? That a Gentile cannot play a Jew, and that the argument, therefore, is that a Jew cannot play a Gentile, and that's it's not relevant to that type of portrayal. We also talked. I mentioned in the thing about Diane Kruger feeling like she got looked up and down when she was screen testing for Helen of Troy because the visual aspect of it. And this is why I give them a lot of leeway. I give a lot more than a lot of the people in this space. I give Hollywood a lot of leeway when it comes to who they cast in roles, as long as they don't pretend like they're the world's greatest thing in the world for casting people that look different.
If you are playing Helen of Troy, it is absolutely pivotal that you be like literally the most beautiful woman in the world, because that was what she was.
And that's
the
what
role.
and in that interview, basically it amounted to this whole article was like, I felt like a piece of meat, and
You
it
should have felt
and
flattered.
and all it essentially meant was what a producer was like, please come in costume, we need to look at you because it's a visual medium, they need to know what you will look like on camera. Is that objectifying? Yes, it is, in a way. They are looking at it in a strictly physical sense, because in that moment, your personality is not what's on trial here.
Right.
Your physical appearances. The same thing would have happened to the male they cast, being Brad Pitt.
Of course.
He is going to be looked at the same way. You think the dudes in 300 didn't get that same look up and down? No. Those Hollywood guys will look those producers will look those dudes up the same way as well, because it's still their money they're pumping into these productions. They need to make sure it looks right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's an aside, but basically it is important in the physical sense. And like I said, I give Hollywood a way more leeway than a lot of people who occupy this space as far as like who they cast, as far as diversity of appearance, because it doesn't bother me as long as they don't brag about it, especially if I'm not super connected with the source material that they're always aping and not paying respect to. But I absolutely understand where the anger from those people comes from.
Then how do you feel about, like, you know how recently in animations, like all the voice actors, they said, if I'm not that race, I won't
Right, like
voice
The
the
Simpsons.
characters.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
to
How
me.
do you feel about, so you feel like it's ridiculous?
I feel it's ridiculous that the studio wouldn't hire them based on that. I think it's even more ridiculous if a person bows out of consideration because of the
like
virtue
Kristen,
signal. Whoever the dude was from
The Simpsons, but
yeah.
also
Oh, yeah.
what's her name? Belle, the one, she was like in The
you're
Good
the
Place.
You're the voice actor.
I don't
The
know
main
her name.
actress.
The
The main actress for In The Good Place. I'll search it up. Like, I'll come back to it. but
blonde lady.
yeah,
I'm not sure. What was
This
she in?
stuff. That's what I
yeah.
said.
Basically, she was voicing a character for. They're the same creators of Bob's Burger, and her character was like half white, half black. And she's like, well, I'm not half black and I don't want to voice this character anymore. So like she opted out.
Wow. Interesting. Well, I guess you have that choice, right?
Yeah, she that's absolutely her choice. I think that's a stupid choice to make.
Sure, yeah.
Oh yeah, Kristen Bell.
And
Okay.
Kristen Bell.
And these are separate issues. To me, that is one of like I said, I give them more leeway if they want to cast people that look different. That doesn't bother me, even if it's not 110% accurate with the source material. Just don't brag about it on social media as if you're changing the world when you could be giving people original stories based on those cultures.
Right.
And
Seriously.
in most cases, like when they argue about Batman being cast possibly as somebody of another race, that doesn't really. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't. I mean, but the thing is now, because we know how they behave, the agenda is prevalent and it's going to turn people off. And it will turn me off because they're going to talk about it and they're going to make it about that. When they cast Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, nobody cared, not realizing that Nick Fury was not
Originally black?
African American.
Oh,
No, he wasn't.
interesting.
Yeah, so nobody cared because he played the role well and they didn't talk about it as if they were saving the world by doing that.
That's the way to do it. They're so ham-handed with this. They're like,
Yeah.
we're going to cram it down your throat.
The
You
same-
have to like it.
Yeah, the same thing with our favorite TV show, Merlin. Guinevere is played by a black woman, but they never mentioned it. They didn't make it into a big thing, and she's a great actress.
It's a different time. I was talking to someone earlier about all of the Blue Sky dramas that they did on the USA channel back in the day, and everybody just looks so happy, and it just looks so creative and fun. Nobody cared about these things. You didn't have to worry that you were going to get in trouble for every little decision you made.
Doesn't it seem like they interjected the black character more often in the 90s? Did you notice that as well? I remember
Kinda.
seeing it. I
But,
was like,
but
oh,
they
yeah,
never, but they
kinda.
never talked about it.
Right,
That's the
exactly.
point. Is that just do it.
What changed? Why do they feel like they have to
Twitter.
do it now? Just
Twitter, and people are
Social
bored
media.
because nobody has anything to talk
have too
about
much
anymore.
free time.
Yeah.
Twitter. I
Yeah.
think Twitter happened, and this is the same thing. There's plenty of examples of male characters being changed into female characters. That doesn't bother me. Just don't brag about it as if you're saving the world. You're just making movies. You're not
Well,
saving
to
the
be
world.
fair, if you're trying to make somebody like James Bond into a female, that is not going to work because that's completely inconsistent with his character.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is landed gentry. Or
Yes.
yes, he's of
He's
a
a
certain.
ladies' man. He's violent. It's very.
And if
Or-
we're talking in historical senses, they cast someone else to play Anne Boleyn, which is
Right.
ridiculous because
Right.
that's a historical figure.
I'm upset about the new Robin pick,
Uh,
where it's the redhead Robin, but they're replacing her as a black female.
if anybody wants to look up Hollywood Ginger Side on Google, it's all the redheaded
Yeah.
characters that have been replaced.
Aw.
That's who's really losing out
Ginger
right
side,
now.
like genocide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But it's just in Hollywood. They're getting rid of them. But I don't know.
Redheads
Honestly,
are, yeah, disappearing.
yeah, honestly, I feel like the internet is getting bored. Nobody has things to say. And like to quote Bob Burnham from his song "Welcome to the Internet."
I think she
being-
meant Bo Burnham.
Thank you.
Bo Burnham, yeah.
I can't.
Close
I can't.
enough.
I can't do words anymore. I'm like tapping out from the stupidity of the world. But quote from his song "Welcome to the Internet." Being bored is a crime. So people are just making up things to say because they're that bored and they don't want to look like they're bored
Too
anymore.
privileged, yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed.
So I like I said, it says this article takes a little bit of a different perspective than I do. It says not only should actors gender align with the character's gender, but other physical attributes. They're right about one thing, that you could just change the character. And Hollywood is want to just introduce. They love introducing new characters. And remember, we're talking almost exclusively about stuff with IP.
Yeah.
They could get rid of all of this by just making new stuff with no
It could be
actual.
original.
Yeah, and then you will notice that nobody cares when there's not something previous to base it on. Remember,
Right.
Yeah.
you don't have built-in fans, you have built-in critics.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give you the benefit of the doubt anymore.
Right.
Nobody's giving Halo, the TV series, the benefit of the doubt. Nobody's giving Gotham Knights, which is going to be coming out, the
Yeah.
benefit of the doubt, though they did just cast one of the dudes from Supernatural, Misha Collins, as Harvey Dent.
Oh, but I love him. He's a good actor, but he always plays as like the brooding kind of out of this world kind of character.
Well, he's going to play Harvey
But-
Dent.
Cast.
So it's just, to me, this is one of those discussions where I feel like common sense has long been forgotten, and I just care about making the best film possible without bragging about these social social causes that they claim to care about.
I will say that I hope more people adopt Andrew Garfield's mindset
Yep.
and Ian McKellen's
I
outlook. For
agree.
sure.
It says at the same time, a person's sexual orientation should not prevent them from playing any character based on their sexual orientation. Exactly. There are endless examples of gay actors who have been playing straight actors for years, and that's
Neil
fine.
Patrick
Great.
Harris
Exactly.
is one good example.
It
He
is.
played
So-
super straight. For
Yes,
sure.
he
Yeah.
did.
Does
So
it
that's
well.
it's funny to me that this is common sense. And he, like I said, and he played a very successfully portrayed an extremely successful straight person.
Womanizer, yeah.
So
He was like my favorite character,
good
and you
actor.
can never tell that he was gay.
Yep.
Yeah, he's great.
So it's the death of imagination in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I do like that another actor, a younger actor with more to lose, is speaking up, because I do think that that's what's important, is that
Yeah.
the older actors can speak up all they want, but everyone just says, you've made your money. It doesn't matter anymore.
You're gonna die soon.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Basically.
With younger actors who have more to lose, there's more to be. There's more solidarity behind that, I
Right.
believe.
Good
So,
for Andrew.
yes.
He's brave.
Or we can just make our own Hollywood, like how Daily Wire is making their
Yeah.
own movies. We can make our own and make our own products.
Parallel economy.
That is
Yes.
that is one of the things we're
do
working
it.
on, and there's a lot of ways in which that's happening. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.